Here we go.
Keep it going for a little bit. I love this song. This song, as I've said before, always puts a smile on my face. Happy Monday.
Yes.
Who's back? Keith Irizarry
Yes.
from Dallas. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm all brisketed out. All right. Lots of barbecue. No, there isn't.
Thing is having too much brisket.
No, so I had brisket every single day that I was in Dallas, in some variation, whether it was in a taco or whether it was a barbecue brisket. We talk about, living the good life and YOLO and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I went all in on the eating while we were there, enjoyed it. The whole family had a great time. It was absolutely a blast.
See, I'm with you. Like if I had to rank, and Keith was down in Dallas and taking in a Maverick game and taking in a tour of AT&T Stadium and having a good time.
At the Stars game too.
At the Stars game, I mean, you did it all. I mean, that's an unbelievable. That's a great boys, dad, boys, mom trip. Like to do all that.
And I'll throw it out there again. And Donna's the same way as Jody. Like Jody is an absolute saint. Like when I tell you, and I know you know this because you're married to an amazing human being as well, like on the scale of like great people, if this is the top of it, Jody's like all the way up here, like off the charts. And I know Donna is the same way, but the fact that like she was cool with being with me and my sons on like a total sports trip, like even the day we went to the Cowboys Stadium to AT&T. Guess what we did for dinner? We went across that little pond that they have there and went to Live Arena, which is a big board of TVs with all sports on it. And we had dinner there.
Concerts after Cowboy games.
Yeah.
Because my buddy Alex is a huge Cowboy fan, and he goes down every year to go see a Dallas game, picks a game out. Doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest game or best game of the year. And so it's just an amazing experience. You go there, after games, you can go see a concert. Yeah, it's fantastic. But like you're talking about barbecue, and if I were to rank, like if you were looking at barbecue foods and going to a great barbecue joint, and I've never been to like Nashville, I've never been, to Texas, I've never been to, the great barbecue states down south, of this country, and where you have, cooked a little bit differently, whether it be dry, whether it be wet, when it's talking about how you're making it. I would say brisket's at the top for me. Like when I've had barbecue, brisket is at the top for me. Then I'd go barbecue. Then I'd go ribs. I'm not a huge pulled pork guy. Like everyone loves pulled pork. I'm not as big of a pulled pork guy. So I love the fact that you brisket it out because that's my anytime I go to a barbecue place, if I get like one of those platters or plates or whatever it might be that has like a little compilation of everything, it's always got to include brisket because brisket's the best.
If we were doing a barbecue draft, brisket has to be one. Ribs would be two. Now the thing with ribs is you end up getting into the like St. Louis style baby, there's all different types, right?
Do you go the big Fred Flintstone, beef rib?
Overrated.
Is it overrated? I've never had
ones, the big huge beef ribs. Overrated.
Is it really?
Yeah, they usually end up. Now, while I do enjoy like the fat on a brisket and I do enjoy like the fat on a steak, let's say, the big, huge beef briskets, like the Brontosaurus style ribs, a lot of times they're either too fatty or they end up getting a little too hard, like almost like chewy on certain areas.
Oh, yeah, I don't, I've never had it. I've seen it. Yeah. I've seen it cooked on like the Food Network where, diners, drive-ins, and dives, and Guy Fieri's at some place, and whether it be the Q in Brooklyn and stuff, and they're making, the big beef rib. It looks delicious, but I've never had it. Yeah, but brisket,
it's almost like the turkey leg.
What's that?
It's almost like when you go to a fair and you get that big monster turkey leg. Like it looks really cool, and then it's okay.
Okay, all right. I've never. The turkey leg is overrated. Like if you go to Disney, walking around the turkey leg, oh, I got to try that. That looks amazing. And then 3 bites in, you're like, oh my God, this was a mistake.
Yes.
Like this is a ginormous. I look like a buffoon. I'm walking around with this ginormous turkey leg. I don't need to eat all of this, and it's not great. Like it looks. That's one of the things where it looks a lot better than what it is.
Yeah. The trip, we ended up, got a chance to meet up with my buddy Mike Leslie from WFAA, which, by the way, we got to get him on the show. We haven't had him on the show yet. He used to come on my NBC shows all the time. He's an anchor reporter out there, covers the Mavericks, the Stars, all those teams. His wife is actually a meteorologist. Got the chance to meet his 18-month-old baby, which was great. And then on Thursday, so before we went to the Mavericks game, there was something we did that wouldn't qualify as sports. We went over to Fort Worth and did like the stables. So they were like, they do their like, it's not running of the bulls, but like it's a whole bunch of bulls, and they like show how in the olden days they would go down the streetways. There's like one guy on a horse, he's the leader, and then they made the joke about the guy that's on the back is usually either a rookie or someone who's fallen out of favor with the leader, because that's where all the smell comes from. Like you never want to be behind all the bulls and the horses because you get the smells coming at you. Yeah. And that was cool too. Did the mechanical bull, and we were going to go horseback riding and ended up getting a little too cold, and we ended up having to make a run for it. But it was good.
Nice.
Oh, we also did the Ross Perot Museum.
Oh, how was that?
You know what? It was cool. There was a whole floor devoted to sports. Of course, there was.
Of course.
You could do this racing thing against, like you could pick an athlete or an animal that you'd want to run against. So like the boys kept wanting to run against Patrick Mahomes, so they kept running against Patrick Mahomes. There was this simulator that made you go slow motion. So like Austin did this like dribbling thing, where like you're dribbling, and it honestly makes it look like you're in the NBA. Like he shows the handle and it's slow-mo going like this. And Alex did a soccer thing. And then we went upstairs and played with robots. That's cool.
Great. That's awesome. That's good.
I almost didn't come back. I almost stayed in Dallas.
Sure. It sounds like, it sounds like you guys did as much as you could possibly do in a short amount of time, which is awesome. That's what it's all.
Yeah. I will say this.
On the table.
Yeah. We're a national network here, and we're a national show. So I'm throwing it out there. I think I could live in Dallas. I do. Yeah. The people are nice. Yeah. There's enough hustle and bustle to make you feel like you're in a bigger city, because you are. I mean, you're in actually a massive state, but like enough hustle and bustle. I could live in Dallas. So if anybody needs me to start working in Dallas, I could do that.
Very nice. I'm happy where I'm at right now. I don't know.
I know. I'm not trying to move. My
kids are outgrowing my house, but I think at some point in time we're gonna probably have to find a little bit of a bigger home. But now's not the time to do it because it's a complete seller's market. But that's not why you.
No, yeah, you don't want to. Yeah.
Because then it's like you sell the house and then you got no place to live. So right now we're happy where we're at. But at some point in time, it's going to be too small for what we have.
Before we get into business of, talking sports and stuff. All right. So Jackson won at Lake Placid and Paul came in second.
And Paul came in second. Jackson's team won the 10 and under division 2013. So Jackson's team won their division, and
31s, right? 31s, you mean?
What do you
Jackson's
mean?
a 31, right?
13. He was born in 2013. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah. No, but his graduating year is 31, right?
Oh, yeah. Right. But
that's not how they do it in hockey?
No, they go by birth.
My bad. Yeah. Basketball, they do it. Basketball and lacrosse, they do it that way. They do, like Austin's a 29, Alex is a 32.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, no, they do it by birth year. So 2013. Okay. But sometimes you have tournaments where it's 2013. Sometimes it's, 12 and under. Sometimes it's by the classification of the player, how good of a player they are. So it's very confusing when you're looking at hockey, but yeah, it was a great experience. It feels like you walk into a town and the Olympics, are just happened. It's the Olympic Oval. You can go skating on it at night. They have box hockey. They have, you walk in, you feel the history of the 80 rink. You see the 1932 rink. They have another rink as well. They've got tournaments running up there every weekend. We were talking to a gentleman who helps run the place every weekend from early October through early April. They're running hockey tournaments up there. Great food in the town. You can smell the fireplaces at night. It's just a cool kind of It's a cool town. It's a cool little. You could see going up there during the course of the summer. It's a great little mountain town. It's fantastic.
Were
It's
you guys able
to get there? But it's great.
Were you able to do any tubing, skiing, sledding, anything like that?
No, we didn't do it. No, we did not. I mean, you could go on Whiteface, which was the Olympic mountain. They call it Ice Face. I don't ski. My kids wanted to go skiing. It would just been too much. It with the hockey, and then when the hockey wound down to the idea of then going skiing on Monday before we drove back was just that was a bridge.
I hear you.
I just couldn't. We were like the kids wanted to try and do it, but it was just if we were staying till like Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday and lengthening out the trip, then probably we would have done that. But in that short amount of time, it was just too much. So we hung out in the town. We went, and took in all the Olympic stuff that we could and saw where they did ski jumping, which is insane. I mean, it's crazy to watch these guys and gals that do the ski jumping off the large hill. You can take an elevator up to the top. It is just tremendous view of the entire area. It's just a beautiful part of the country. It's unbelievable.
Would you go again?
Yes, no doubt. Yeah.
Hopefully next time Gregor will get to play in it.
Yeah, I've been to Lake Placid twice in my life. I'd definitely go again. The town is awesome. You would love it. You got to take the boys up there. You guys would love it.
Yeah, we gotta. That's on the list. We actually almost did it last year
too. And it's all the Miracle on Ice, and you get to see they have a new museum that opened up. It's just a really and the town is really cool. They've got a little beautiful mom and pop shops, and for a town that the restaurants are great. But the food is really good. The boys had a good time, and we had a blast, and the kids played really well. That's
awesome. Did you come home and feel like you needed a vacation?
Yeah, we were exhausted.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, we were exhausted. It took us 3 days. That night we got home on Monday, Keith. Got home at 7:45. I think I was sleeping at 9:20.
And there's not even a time difference for you. So for us, my father was nice enough to pick us up at the airport, right? My flight came in around midnight let's just say 11:59 on Friday night. So Saturday morning, right? So he picks us up, drives us back to our house.
Yeah.
Somehow we screwed this up and we locked all the doors and we didn't bring our keys with us.
How is that possible?
Story for another day, but whatever, we did.
Wait, no, but that doesn't make sense. How do you lock all the doors and don't have a key? Because don't you lock the door from the outside?
So yes, the front door, you do it that way, but the garage, there's a key code to get into the garage. And we usually you leave that door unlocked to get into the house. So you obviously have to get by our key code.
You got through the key code, but then somebody locked the garage door.
Yeah, so you got to do the key code and an alarm system. So there's a lot of things that would make it so that people can't get into my home. I'm not trying to say it's like a fortress, but it's my palace and I'm not letting anyone come near it. So anyway, somehow we lock that door and I go, Dad, do you have the keys to our house? And he goes, they're on Mom's key ring at my house.
And how far is your dad from your house?
12 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But it's now 12:50 in the morning. My mother's sleeping.
Oh.
So now
your mom, but the difference is my mom's in Florida.
Yeah, see, no, that would have been terrible, right? Yeah. So we then have to all hop in the car, drive the 12 minutes, get the keys, drive back to my house, unlock, and then my poor father, man.
Dude,
so we didn't get to sleep till 2:00 in the morning. And then Alex had basketball that he had to be at 11. Austin had two basketball games. He had to be at one at 11:30 and one at 1:00.
Wow.
Back into the fire. So yeah, we were tired.
Right back into the fires, right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, at least your dad and your mom had the keys, so you're able to back.
We actually just spoke to our neighbors yesterday, our best friend neighbors. We're like, I don't know why we never gave you guys keys. We're giving you guys keys to our house.
Yeah, so we live in a wooded area, so we know maybe 3 families around us. That's it. We don't our two neighbors. We have no idea. I have no idea who the hell they are.
Yeah. Our neighbors was like, I don't understand. Why do you even use keys? Well, because they have this like electronic thing where like you can just go from your phone and like press a button and open doors.
I like the key.
Me too.
My wife was getting on me the other day. Like, I like the old-fashioned way of using a key. I don't need to then have electric keypad installed in the house. It's just another. Why do I need to do that? The deadbolt works.
Yeah, you still don't have a shared calendar. So until you have a shared calendar,
the deadbolt works. Like that's fine. It's going to prevent from most people. We have an alarm system. I think we're good. I don't need an electric keypad to open and unlock or lock the door.
I don't know. I'm leaning towards the electric front door. I am.
Are you really?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Don't know. I'm gonna charge it to our boss here at Better Sports Network.
$700, maybe $1,000. No.
Yeah, you don't think it's a? I'll ask. But
here's the deal: even if you gave your neighbors the keys, were you really going to knock on their door at 1:00 in the morning?
Yeah.
No, you would not have.
All right, so to be fair, they have the electronic one, and they were actually out of the country at the time, so it actually would have worked because I would have because I actually don't have the thing Jody does. Jody knows their code to their house, so we can go in their house whenever we want. Because they travel a lot, so they'll have us pick up their packages and stuff like that for them. Yeah.
Oh, so then if you're doing all that for them, I would knock on the door like 3:00 in the morning, be banging on the door. Open
and they're
up.
Younger. They're like 30, I think 30 and 31.
Do they have kids?
They're kids. No, they do not have children. No.
Okay.
They're still listen. They just traveled to Switzerland and Italy on this break. No, they're still living the life. That's they just went skiing and they like tried to get into Russia, but they weren't allowed.
They're in the Swiss Alps. I'm glorifying a trip to Lake Placid. Yeah. You've been to Dallas. They're in the Swiss Alps.
You're like, I was a little too tired to go skiing, and I'm like,
they're living a completely different life. Basically what you say.
You're like, should I go skiing on Monday?
No. My hotel offered free coffee in the morning. I was like, oh, this is great. 6:30, go down, fresh cup, Folgers, fantastic. I was excited. I was happy as a pig, and you know what? I was like, I don't have to run out. It's right downstairs.
Oh, God, that's awesome. Hey, so what was the biggest NBA story yesterday? Because there were a list of them.
Oh, Lillard?
Is it Lillard or is it LeBron and the Lakers?
I think anyone that drops over 70 points is the biggest story. No?
So
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is LeBron. I mean, but we're also coming from two different mindsets too. Like you love LeBron.
No, but I ask it for this.
Let me LeBron.
Okay, so I do. Although he annoyed me yesterday.
You want to snuggle in with LeBron, like you want.
I do not, but I do. I will. I do not, but I would have rubbed his ankle for him. I would have Miyagi'd him. I'd be like but. He annoyed me a little bit yesterday because I definitely think he played that injury up a little bit. And for someone who's 6'8", 260, like that's if I had to pick out the one thing that bothers me, I do think he soccer players it up sometimes. Oh, like I think, like he is. I mean, whatever. But all right, so I asked that question because
complains all the time, like Sidney Crosby.
Everyone does. So does Luka.
I understand, but I mean, you are the best player, the most physically gifted player, that we've seen outside of Jordan in my lifetime in the NBA. How much complaining do you really need to do?
More. I asked this question because of this. So LeBron is the greatest player of this generation. And one of the 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever your list says, everybody out there, greatest players of all time, right? And had a historic comeback, down 27 points. No team had done that this year. Teams that were up by 27 or more were 138-0 coming into yesterday when leading by 27 points or more. Okay, so that's one story. The second story is Damian Lillard scores 71 points for the Portland Trailblazers. And if you don't have if you're not always on social media and if you don't have NBA League Pass, did you even know until you watch SportsCenter highlights at midnight?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, but isn't that more of a knock on the, where Portland is?
Exactly.
Even with the win, I mean, they're 2 games under 500.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said,
nobody cares about the Blazers.
Moose, is this this has to be an indictment on the organization, not on Damian Lillard, because, and I know that I know you know where I'm going with this one. I can't think. Yes, Baby J, the Nuggets game was awesome too, by the way. I can't think of another star basketball player, and we could just cross over to other sports, that has ever been so good for so long, staying with one organization, that it has essentially felt like we as fans have been robbed because he hasn't been either in a bigger market or in a more winning, organization. Can you think of anybody? One team. Got to be one team.
I mean, off the top of my head, no. I mean, not really. I mean, one team.
Give me NBA before we move to other sports first.
I mean, for what that hasn't accomplished a lot. I mean, Patrick should have won a title with New York. I understand
right.
He went to Seattle and Orlando.
That's fine. He would be acceptable.
That was at the end of his career. I mean, someone brings up Dan Marino.
Yep.
Wally does Dan Marino.
But Marino did at least get to one Super Bowl.
He did. They got obliterated by the 49ers.
Yes.
But yes, did get to one Super Bowl, and that was early in his career, and you always thought Marino was going to get back and never did.
Reggie Miller got to one NBA final.
Yeah.
John Stockton, back-to-back finals, but, for the most part, was overshadowed. Charles Barkley played for two teams.
Right.
Sixers and Suns.
No, I know. I'm just trying to think of.
Yeah. George Gervin was one I found.
Yeah.
So George Gervin was drafted by the Bulls, played one season for the Bulls, then played the rest of his career with San Antonio, never got to an NBA Finals.
Right. No, it's a good. Offhand, it's hard when you put the caveat or you put the twist on it. It's got to be with just one team. It's hard to find that because in today's day and age, it's with the evolution of free agency and how nomadic a lot of players are over the course of their career, to be with one organization, one team. Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of one that has been as good as Lillard has been, and they have not accomplished much.
And Lillard also, and I would say this because by staying in that one organization, I mean, it's kudos to you, and you're tried and true, and you're loyal. But when we think of the best players in the NBA, how often does Damian Lillard's name come up on a list?
Yeah, not much. I mean, but I think it's also I think you respect the talent that he is, the player that he is, but I think it's probably the market that he's playing in, and I also think it's the fact that West Coast, a little East Coast bias, and the other factor is they've not been an NBA title contender. They really haven't been. They've been fun to watch at times. The backcourt.
They had one conference final with him, I think.
I believe so. I mean, that's it. And Lillard's a great player. I mean, he just is. And Damian Lillard, who was the guy that it was a Nets draft pick that Portland used for Dame Lillard because they picked up, I believe, what was it? Gerald Wallace was a draft pick where they added him after that whole trio of trades when they were trying to go for it, when they added Garnett and Paul Pierce and Jason Terry in that trade with the Boston Celtics. It was another move that they made where I think it was Gerald Wallace, I believe, was the player where they gave up their first-round draft choice, and that first-round draft choice ended up being Dame Lillard, used by Portland. I always love that nugget where I throw into Nets fans because, and I'm not saying they would have drafted him, but still, that's how Portland ended up drafting Damian Lillard. He's an amazing player, but here's the problem. He drops in 71. There's no discounting what he did last night. 13 of 22 from 3, 22 of 38, shot nearly, 58% from the floor. He's amazing. Now, the issue is, first game out of the All-Star break, he sat because of rest.
It worked for him. He looked well rested last night.
It's so odd.
I know, it's so a weird thing.
It's so, the first game back for the Portland Trailblazers, after the All-Star break, in which Dame Lillard, played in the All-Star game, but won the three-point shootout and did all that, and he has to sit down and rest that day. I don't know.
Could you imagine if I would have this morning? I sent a text over to you, Ernie,
guys,
Matt Deutsch.
I need the day.
I need the day.
We're not.
You just had vacation. Nah, so I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be back.
Yeah.
I need an R&R a day for myself.
Yeah, that's awful. But yeah, to your question, it's so strange. You're right. But we're also not in the position where we're making $35-40 million a year, and we love what we do, and we have work at. I'm not saying that Lillard doesn't. It's just the way that the modern athlete is handled, and it's the old load management argument debate. And during the All-Star break, people are like dying for something to talk about. So all of a sudden, that got rehashed as being an issue in the NBA. It's not been as big of an issue this year as it's been good years gone by. I think the regular season has been really, really good. But you opened up the question talking about what was the bigger story. Well, just from sheer popularity, even though I think the personal accomplishment of an individual in the NBA scoring 71 in a game.
Only 8th time someone has done it.
8th time in the history of the league that has ever happened. I think that's a bigger accomplishment. What's going to draw more eyeballs is that the fact that the Lakers have won 3 in a row.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, just to double back really quick, if we crossed over other sports, because I know we're going to talk baseball in 5-10 minutes with Matt Stryker when he joins us, but Mike Trout would be on the list, his entire career with the Angels. Tony Gwynn would be on the list, right? Got to throw those two. If you cross over to football, I know Dan Marino was mentioned, but you can go with either or both Detroit Lion in Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson. They would both fall on that list too.
Yeah, I thought Sanders was better. I like the Gwynn one. That's a great one. I like the Trout one. I like the Barry Sanders one.
Ichiro, sorry. Better Boss now has twice put in the chat about Ichiro.
Yeah, Ichiro. I mean, he didn't play his entire career with one team, but the majority of it. At the end, he was with the Yankees and stuff. But Ichiro is one that he was, no doubt about it. He was different. He was an unbelievable hitter. And an unbelievable athlete. When you look at Ichiro, had an absolute bazooka for an arm, even though he didn't look like it because he was as thin as thin could be, but he had a cannon for an arm. Just a great all-around player.
Joe Thomas, Ernie writes in there. That's a good one. I mean, I think we forget about offensive linemen at times. Derek Thomas would have been a good one. Kansas City, right? Played his entire career there. He kind of changed that organization.
How about Tim Brown?
Well, that's a good one. That was at least he was on the Raiders are a marquee organization, but that's a good one.
Yeah, Tim Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, was was a Hall of Famer. I don't know.
I like that one.
It's good, but when you look at it, it's almost like Lillard at times disappears because of the market that he's in.
Yeah, and that's why I feel that's why I brought it up, because I think as fans, like you and I are different because this is what we do for a living. Like,
I think he's a great player. He's awesome.
Yeah, we not only watch because we love it, we watch because we're studying this stuff, and then we're going to talk about it and need to know these things, right? But I think as fans, we do get a little bit robbed of having a player in a smaller market almost get forgotten there, right? If Lillard was in Boston or New York or Dallas or Chicago during his LA during his NBA career, listen, he's going to be a Hall of Famer anyway, but we might be thinking of him differently. We might.
Oh, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. It's just what would it be his Q rating, like as compared to now if he played in a bigger market or played in more important games? Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Miami, Chicago, you mentioned that, LA with the Lakers or the Clippers, even throw in the Dallas Mavericks or the Phoenix Suns. It just, and I'm not trying to, bash the city of Portland. Portland, I've never been, but everyone that says
it's a nice city, I've been there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city, great people, this and that. The problem is the Blazers have not been particularly, have not been great. They've been good. They've been very good at times. They've been not just been consistently great. So that's the issue you have with Dame Lillard. And I just don't think, even though I have a great respect, I don't have the affection for LeBron that you do, Keith, and we joke around about it here on Moose and Keith, and that's fine.
I would have rubbed his ankle for him.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that I don't respect what he's done. However, I do think when you have a player that drops in the amount of points that he did in a singular game last night, like Lillard deserves as much love as he possibly can. I didn't like the fact that he sat out the first game back for Portland, or they decided as an organization to rest him. But he made up for it last night with one of the epic individual performances we've seen so far here in the NBA. As far as the Lakers are concerned, Keith, just one quickly on that before I know Stryker's going to join us here in a little bit. But I'm just not buying.
So you're not buying? I think I am.
I'm not.
I think I am.
Are you? Well,
No, and it's not even a LeBron thing. Yesterday, they win a game down by 27 points without D'Angelo Russell, and Russell will be back. He's better than anything else they have at that point guard spot. I think they have depth now, and I think they have – this team feels very similar to the bubble team.
Oh, boy, we're back. Oh, here we go.
It feels very – now the problem is they might have dug themselves too big of a hole. They might have, okay? But when I start crunching numbers and I look at them 12th in the West and I say, okay, you're 2.5 games out of being in 6th in the West. I know there's a lot of teams you got to jump over.
Yeah.
But still, I'm just saying it. They remind me of that 2020 team.
We'll get back into this a little bit later on. I'll poke some holes in that, but we'll get back into it a little bit later on.
I don't want any holes poked. This is not Swiss cheese.
Because he's waiting patiently. That is the great Matt Stryker. Works with Keith on MLB Network, knows baseball backwards and forwards. Spring is in the air, even though we're going to get a storm here on the East Coast. Matt Stryker is going to join us next. It's Moose and Keith back together again on a Monday right here on the Better Sports Network.
Monday Night Rants with Edward Rouse on Better Sports Network.
Do you believe in the Madden curse? Do you think that's a real thing?
I did. Now, I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore, but it was a real thing for a solid 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it was Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Peyton Hillis.
LT was never on the cover. I know that.
Was he not? I thought he was one. Okay, well, you do know all the covers of everything.
Yeah, okay. So if you want, I could do this real quick. So Garrison Hurst is the first official Madden cover athlete, 1999. 2000, I believe they still put John Madden on the cover. And then 2001 is where it all started. So 2001, you have Eddie George. 2002, Dante Culpepper. 2003, Marshall Falk. 04, Michael Vick. 05, Ray Lewis, first defensive player on the cover. Okay. 06, Donovan McNabb. 07, Sean Alexander. Okay. 08, Vince Young. 09, Brett Favre.
Okay.
10 is a trick one because it's
no way you know.
And Larry Fitzgerald. 11, Drew Brees. 12, Peyton Hillis. 13, Calvin Johnson, I believe so.
You're right.
14.
No way you know all this.
14, also a trick question. I believe that's the Madden 25 cover, and it's Barry Sanders. Unless you got it for the new consoles, in which case Adrian Peterson
oh my God.
was on the cover.
You're not cheating. You're not looking at...
Swear on my life. Swear on my life.
Okay, keep on going.
15, you have Richard Sherman.
Okay.
16, hold on. 16 is Odell Beckham.
Okay.
16. 17, now this is the one I get mixed up because 17 and 18 are back-to-back Patriots.
They are.
17, I think, is Gronk, and 18 is Brady.
You are correct.
19 is Antonio Brown.
Correct.
20, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh my goodness.
21, Lamar Jackson. 22, Brady Mahomes. 23, John Madden. But yeah, dude, I'm a cover nerd when it comes to this stuff.
We now know, but that was really impressive. I don't know how.
Thank you.
That's literally 29 of them or something like that. Wow, that is. You did not miss a single one, and you even got the special editions where they had 2 people on the covers.
Monday Night Rants on Better Sports Network.
Check it out.
Moose and Keith on Better Sports Network.
And away we go. As we are 33 minutes into the show, we bring on Matt Stryker. Yes.
Said it with such... I
don't like know.
That? Moose, you want to give it your best shot there? Moose, Keith Matt didn't... See, there you go. There was
Matt
a breath. It's not even March yet.
Stryker. What are you talking about? I was doing like the WWE type of thing. I was trying to do... I was mixing and matching everything that you have done in this world.
I thought you were doing the my wife thing where she's just, by the time she gets to that point in her
frustrated
name, she's, Matt.
Where she's just like, honey.
If I get a honey, I'm good.
Hair's looking nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Beard looks all right. So yeah, hair looks good.
Hey, Moose.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Matt, you look great as is. I mean,
Thank
you
you,
just
sir.
look
My
fantastic.
Q rating through the roof, by the way. You got a genuine laugh from me out of that because you're on point and let the conversation begin. I think that really matters. You also mentioned you're not in on the Lakers. You're not buying the narrative. The Q rating isn't there for you. But to Keith's sports eye, he might have a point as well. But whatever.
Can we start there? Just cross over a little bit. Nothing to do with baseball, whatever. I mean, it could end up. But I pose the question, like someone like Damian Lillard, who scored 71 points last night, 5 times in his career, has gone over 60 points, is clearly one of the best players in the NBA, but plays in Portland and kind of gets forgotten from that list.
Sure.
Do you have anybody else that you could think of? Is it really just like Trout and Tony Gwynn?
No, there's a million of these kind of guys. I mean, walk up to the average person on the street and ask them about George Brett. And if they didn't come up in that time or that particular area, maybe they don't have the appreciation for that type of player. But to make it a broader conversation, I think what Moose is onto here is about that small marketness. We've been told that as a consumer, as a fan, as a wagerer, we've been told small market. That's being broken apart. And we're going to talk about what happened in San Diego. There was a time where San Diego was small market.
Yeah.
Now, guys, I think we could argue that they may be nearly as public as Yankees and Dodgers to the rest of the country.
Matt, let me ask you this: how much do you think? Because I'm curious, because maybe it has nothing to do with one. How much do you think it helped the Padres that the Chargers went to LA?
Setup question, folks. There it is. 1,000%, because there was a void for the fan base. And when I think they're the Seidler, I'm pronouncing it, the Seidler family came in, they took advantage of that. The entire city of San Diego has this passion. And you can kind of tie it to, and Keith, we've talked about this. Remember the White Sox a couple of years ago? Everyone was on that lineup. Everyone was on that team. Every expert in the world was on the Chi Sox. And then where did everyone go? It's the same kind of thing. I mean, it's not small market, big market conversation, but it's that hot trend. So I think that once the Chargers left, Seidler family saw the opportunity. And I think they're related to the O'Malley. So baseball in Southern Florida has this kind of Illuminati thing to it. But regardless, they saw an opportunity to create and fill a void financially, commercially. And that's what it's really all about.
Were you surprised at all with the Manny Machado deal? 11 years for, a guy that's in his early 30s?
Guys, coming from my pro wrestling background, I'm always skeptical of everything. Everything is what we call a work, right? Nothing's on the up and up. There's always a grift somewhere. He says, I'm not coming back. And then all of a sudden we get this amazing contract that is going to change the way we know baseball. I think baseball is going to return to something a bit more recognizable. And you guys can speak to this more. Contracts for the last decade were they identified the player. The player is worth this. The player is worth this. Now we have a contract here that actually identifies the franchise. Now this kid isn't going anywhere, right? No opt-out, there's no trade. He's going to be the face of the city, and he's a part of the rebuild. So why shouldn't he be there when and if they hoist their first trophy? So that was the thought process there. It makes sense, but maybe Manny played, and it seems that both sides won, more so as DeGrom, I think, kind of worked the Rangers, and we can have that conversation later on.
Yeah, listen, I think it's great. I mean, I do, because I think, if you're a Padre fan, and the fear of Machado leaving, say, for the East Coast or the Mets or maybe the Yankees, who have always been enthralled by the talents of Manny Machado, as every team in Major League Baseball has. Matt, I look at it when that news came down. It actually, even though I'm not a San Diego fan, I didn't grow up in Southern California, it actually made me happy. I'm happy that Manny Machado is going to be a Padre. I think that's good for Major League Baseball, and I think it's an understanding where now, as you just mentioned, he started his career in Baltimore, but he's going to finish it in San Diego.
I think it means more to having an identity again. I mean, this is never going to be our fathers and grandfathers' game. Right? And Keith, you're out there with your kids every day, but you'll see that sports won't change. Competition won't change. Having someone that you can put on your wall and have an identity behind a team, that's how fandom starts. You want to talk about brand loyalty? You want to really get into the business? People drink Pepsi because their father drank Pepsi, because it was on the table every night. Well, why don't you try Coke? I don't know. I just like Pepsi. Psychological conditioning. Watch what happens to already Padres merchandise sales. Watch what happens. The Giants, I think, are the third most profitable team in baseball. You wouldn't think that, but I think they are. Watch what happens to Padre revenue overall as well. That franchise is worth, I think, $1.5 billion. Long far cry from when Ray Kroc and all those McDonald's guys were handling it over.
Well, and
We will-
and they also, I'm sorry, Keith, I just want to follow that. And you just look at the overall complexion, Matt, of baseball is, they have an aggressive general manager who was in a division where the Dodgers are spending money, and I think the Dodgers could regress a little bit this year. But the Dodgers were spending money hand over fist. They've got to compete, obviously, with the brand that is the Cardinals, the teams on the East Coast, Atlanta, the way that they're doing it, and had the understanding that, all right, we're not going to just completely hoard our prospects. We're going to use our prospects to try and get ourselves to where we want to go to try and win now. And, it's refreshing. The issue that Major League Baseball does have, there is a great separation between what San Diego is doing as compared to, say, what the Pittsburgh Pirates are doing. And others where – and the Houston Astros did it a number of years ago where literally nobody in the city of Houston was watching Astros baseball because they were so wretchedly bad, but they were able to use those draft picks like a Carlos Correa and others to rebuild that franchise, and now they're reaping the benefits of it. So it's two ways of going about doing business, but I like the fact that there's a new major player in baseball for big money contracts, and that was the Padres who signed Xander Bogaerts, but we're in late on Aaron Judge. We're in late on a lot of guys to bring in there to try and add to a group that went on a great postseason run a year ago, losing to the Phillies in the NLCS.
It's Keith, I'm going to throw it back to you here. Here's the question. Austin and his buddies, whose jersey are they sooner going to wear? Manny Machado or Jose Ramirez?
Machado. I would actually say that before Tatis got suspended, it would have been a Tatis jersey.
Right? So that, you have your finger on the pulse of the youth and what's coming up. And you and I joke around about it. We make the terrible dad jokes. But you're in a unique position here where you have your finger on the pulse of what's cool and what's hot and what's dope and all these things. Do you
I think lit is what
exactly. I got to say, listen, I'm proud of the gray over here and over here. It means I've lived a life. But the point is, can you see baseball and perhaps the Padres and these brash, awesome young players ushering in a new fandom for the next generation?
I do think so. And I think that we can be ready to give them their flowers. That's another young terminology for you there.
I'm sorry, Bruce. I had to include Keith in the conversation. I was feeling awkward. I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, so we can give them their flowers, okay? No, so I think that San Diego can be the trendy, sexy team that fans are going to fall in love with the same way if we want to do a crossover. I think that there are young fans right now. Who do we think is the number one NFL team? It's the Kansas City Chiefs because of Patrick Mahomes. Like if you grew up a Jets or a Giants fan, like maybe they're your team and you're 12 years old and you love them, but you find yourself wanting to watch the Chiefs. And I think that, let's say you're a Yankees fan, you might find yourself wanting to watch the San Diego Padres. For a lack of a better way to do it, if you have the NBA League Pass striker, it's like that for baseball would be the Padres would be the team that you're going to stay up late to watch.
Yep, that's a good point.
Yeah. I want to, and we're going to do some gambling stuff with you. And I know we have you for about another 10 minutes or so, but storylines going into this year. And I know you and I are going to do this in 30 days, 29 days when Better's Eye, when we get started again. I'm trying to do math really fast. Yeah, something like that. Preview show. I'm pretty sure it's like 26th, 27th. Anyway, with that being said, what are some of the storylines that are jumping out to you as we go into this year?
So this kind of can piggyback on the conversation, guys. We're going to look at what the public is going to do, and we're going to try to fade away from that. And you can see it in some early fantasy baseball drafts. I just love them because you can see where the public's mind really is, which players are coveted, so on and so forth. So that's the first thing. We're going to fade the public. Secondly, in the month of April, I think these new rules, gentlemen, designed to bring the game back to something you and I will recognize. Some more offense. 2 guys on each side of the infield. Left-handed hitters will actually get on base now because they will not be stacked on the other side. Corey Seager, I'm looking at you. So normally in April, we would look at unders. I think we're going to really have a hard time gauging these over-unders till about June. And hopefully the book won't catch up. We'll be ahead of the curve. Lastly, there's this perceived notion that stolen bases are going to be on the uptick. That means more runners in scoring position. That means more runs scored. So although it's against my better judgment, I want to wait. First couple of weeks in April, nothing is laid other than the obvious, the half a hit prop here or there. I'm waiting. But I think overs are going to be the trend eventually. So those are some of the things I'm looking for as far as a wagering perspective.
All right, man. How about teams? When you look at this year, who are you bullish on? Who do you love? Who are you going to fade?
So while the rules would indicate a throwback to the game is forever changed because of what Tampa was able to do to create the 6-inning game. Everyone knows what I'm talking about if you're a baseball fan. I'm looking for more of that, so I'm looking at bullpens. And I think Philadelphia has gone out and done an amazing job with that bullpen. And I think a lot of people are going to be off of them because of the absence of Bryce Harper for a moment or two. But the public's going to be on them because of recency bias. So I'm kind of stuck in a quandary there. So I want to look at some of these things. First fives are also going to be something to look at with a team like Seattle. Look at that rotation. On any given day, you go out there, you may have to face Castillo, Ray, Gilbert, Kirby. And that bullpen, Munoz's foot is healing. And my friend Joe Pisapia had a great line. The only thing between Munoz and the closer's role is Paul Sewald and a bad foot. I would say that Diego Castillo and Matt Brash may have something to say about it, but Seattle, another team to look at. And lastly, long lineups. This game has changed with the DH. Hits are going to come from the bottom of the order. 7, 8, and 9 are no longer outs as they were when we were kids. Look at Toronto and look at like Whit Merrifield at the bottom of the order, and then turn it over and look at Dalton Varsho and his speed. So there are a few teams and a few approaches early on for me.
If I gave you the AL East and I told you over under wins, give me the one that you like the best. I'm going to give you the number, by the way, so you don't have to have that in front of you. Yankees 94.5, Blue Jays 90.5, the Rays 89.5, and then you got Boston 78.5, Baltimore 76.5. Is there one that you like the best out of those?
So it's funny that you kind of your voice trailed off when you got to Boston. I think they might be good. I really do. I think better than 70. I think Adam Duvall is going to hit over 30 home runs if he could stay healthy. That ballpark is all about him. I'm also curious to see what Tristan Casas can do. We know what Rafi Devers can do. He's a 1.5 total base guy every single day, and I'm telling you that now in February. He's the doubles king. Boston's going to be interesting to watch, so maybe I would take that one.
Wow.
All right, how about the AL Central? Cleveland 86.5, Minnesota 84.5, the White Sox 83.5, Detroit 68.5, Kansas City 68.5. Matt,
I would take the Cleveland play. Here's a few things. First and foremost, just from an emotional standpoint, they are less than 100 miles away from arguably one of the worst disasters this country has seen in 50 years. They're going to play some emotionally charged baseball, I believe, and also pitching and bullpen. Again, go look at that staff and look at that bullpen and look at those hitters, and then look at the guys sitting on the bench. Cleveland Indians are better than anyone gives them credit for.
all right, can the number be too high for Houston in the West?
Yes.
Like it's sitting at 97.5. I mean, you look at it, Seattle's at 86.5. Could you see the Astros regressing this year, or are they going to win 98 plus games?
Well, let's keep in mind the changes in the landscape here. That divisional play has changed now. We're seeing more of a balanced schedule, so they're not going to be able to beat up upon all those teams in their division. I think that number is because of the fact that while guys like Lance McCullers are not going to be a part of this team for the immediate future, guys like Hunter Brown and Forrest Whitley are. Like, this team just keeps regenerating. You can cut off a body part and they just keep regenerating. So that number might not be too high. I don't think it is. I think that you would think the net number would be the number that would be inflated. I'd like to see that across different books.
Crazy to watch. The A's are at 59.5. They won 60 games last year. Switch over to the National League. The most wins are both by the Dodgers and the Braves. That's the number set at 96.5. We'll go to the NL East first, though. So you got Braves at 96.5, Mets at 94.5, the Philadelphia at 89.5, and then Miami and Washington at the bottom at 75.5 and 59.5. Who do you like?
So most wagerers are going to go to the top. Why don't we look at a team like Washington and put them in their basket of deplorables with some of these other teams and say, who's going to have the least amount of wins? Washington's number could be very interesting. They do have some young pitching. Mackenzie Gore came over in a trade. Cade Cavalli is another name. And they also CJ Abrams on the offensive side. So keep an eye on a team like Washington. I think that overall the Dodger number is actually the one that's too high. But Washington for the East, if you want to continue the game.
All right, Central, St. Louis 88.5, Milwaukee 86.5, the Cubs 76.5, Pittsburgh 67.5, Cincinnati 65.5. What about the NL Central?
Full disclosure, I'm a Cardinal fan, so it pains me to say the Brewers are going to be a lot
the
better.
over.
Well, the Brewers are going to be better than anyone thinks. That ballpark is about power. Again, certain guys go there and you can just see the ball leave the bat. They also added a guy like Willie Adames, who's going to change everything on that team. And I think the Cubs are going to be better than anyone wants them to be. I really do. And as a Cardinal fan, it hurts me to say that. But I think with the way the game has gone back to something we recognize, baseball, Moose, baseball will actually work again. I don't know. Maybe choking up with 2 strikes, maybe going the other way. Things like this could actually work. The Cubs are going to do stuff like that.
In the NL West, so you mentioned the Dodgers number 2 high at 96.5. So let's assume you would go under on that, okay?
Yep.
And let's assume you like San Diego. We know you do. Their number's at 93.5. If I told you Padres over 93.5 or Dodgers under 96.5, if you had to like give your this is my stamp of approval play, which one you like better?
It does. Backs me in the corner. Started out impersonating my wife. We're going to end the day impersonating my wife. I love it. The Dodgers, Moose, I bring it back full circle. You mentioned that they are bound for regression. They have to be. And this has nothing to do with baseball. This has to do with math. Just living life for nearly half a century. Regression has to happen. The Dodgers have to have regression. Clayton Kershaw will not be Clayton Kershaw. That bullpen cannot be what regression. Dodger number. I really think it's the under.
Last one for me, Matt, and appreciate all the time, is this a dealer's choice, individual awards. When you look at it across the landscape, whether it be AL, NL Cy Young, AL MVP, NL MVP, is there a player? I've heard some talk about Hunter Green with Cincinnati. We had a guest last week that mentioned, that it could lead the league in strikeouts.
Sure.
And stuff. Give me an individual award, that a player prop that you really like this year.
I mean, the first thing that jumps to my mind is I think everyone's ready to coronate Julio in Seattle as the next guy. And barring injury, I just think he has the tools to do that. But I think the game is moving again back to something that is a bit more recognizable. So I would not take my eyes off of some of these older players that know how to hit the other way. Now, this could be a reach. Miguel Cabrera is in his final season. They've changed the dimensions in that ballpark. Something. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but there's something there that speaks to the nostalgia in me. Something to these older players, the Freddie Freemans, the Mookie Bettses of the world. These are the guys that I can see it flourishing in the new rules.
Yeah. Mookie Betts, by the way, put on like 5-6 pounds of muscle, said he needed it. All right, so before we let you go, answer this question, and it's a setup, all right? I'm admitting it. It's a setup. Who's your favorite player of all time baseball? You don't have to go deep into it. I just want to know the name.
Tony Gwynn.
Thank you. I knew that, by the way, but I wanted the fans out there to know. All right, so on a scale of Eric Hosmer to Tony Gwynn, how much have you missed me?
On a scale of Eric Hosmer, who burned me on a play once when I first started playing fantasy baseball, I'll never touch him again, to Tony Gwynn, who means everything to me. You, my friend, you are Carney Lansford, and I'll tell you why, because I had no idea who he was until my father showed me Carney Lansford. And ever since then, my father opened up the encyclopedia and said, go look at his numbers. And I had an appreciation for the guy that nobody watches, puts their head down and goes to work and hits 300. And that is you, my friend.
Matt,
I'll take it.
Strange last one. Keith always has to make it about, basically, did you miss me? Do you love me? It's always the pat on the back. Like he's like Better Sports Network's Alex Rodriguez. He needs to just constantly be.
And he'll show you his abs just as many times too. He's going to get something. He's got a prop. He's got something.
Pictures. He's got the headshots. Here come the headshots.
Oh, Lord have mercy. What is this? I've never seen this. What is this?
Whenever you come on, I just got to ask you one wrestling question, right?
Please.
Not from.
I'm looking at Keith, but I'm listening to you, sir.
Okay, so was there when you were. Because everyone, like all my buddies who were wrestling fans growing up, always did a Macho Man, Randy Savage impersonation.
You had
Who
to.
behind the scenes, like when you were wrestling, like who did the best Macho Man Randy Savage impersonation?
You're gonna get us in trouble.
Slim Jim.
Okay, so young Matthew didn't have a lot of friends. Young Matthew played by himself a lot. Young Matthew had a lot of imaginary friends. Young Matthew freak out. He had Macho Man Randy Savage. He had Roddy Piper. Well, bro, he had them all. And one time, young Matthew wanted to get over with his wrestling friends in WWE, and Matthew was able to impersonate a guy by the name of Johnny Ace. Now, Johnny Ace was our boss He's the guy that hire you and fire you. Hey, Moose, it's Johnny. I would call the referees and chew them out over some type of thing they did in a match or whatever as this Johnny Ace until it got back to one of the senior referees that a guy that had been in the company for a year and a half is prank calling all of his guys and impersonating. It didn't go over well. But Macho Man Randy Savage was one of them. Everyone does a Macho Man. The Miz likes to do one. A buddy of mine named Jay Lethal, who wasn't in WWE, likes to do one. Everyone likes to do one.
Matt, that is awesome.
Yeah, I almost got fired for that. 18 months in, I got called into the boss's office. Why are you impersonating me? And then he was like, do your impersonation of me. No, do it now. Okay, I'm doing it. That's not bad. Don't do it.
Did you like immediately call your dad, be like, Dad, I think I just got fired?
No, I think I kind of kept that one close to the vest. Didn't want to embarrass myself to my dad. You're dirty. You're doing impersonations. You're going to lose $1 million gig. What's wrong with you?
I've never heard that story. That's awesome.
You never will again. Thanks.
Oh,
Matt, that's great.
oh
Much
God.
fun coming on with you guys. Thank you.
You're awesome. Have a great
Hey, you're the best, man. I'll see you in about 3 weeks for Better's Eye. We're back.
Love
Season
you guys.
3.
Pause. See ya.
Later. I had never heard that story before.
Yeah,
That's so good.
Yeah, because everybody, I was just curious because he was in the game, and
Yeah.
I'm sure the stories are just utterly ridiculous. And it says a lot about the talent of Matt Stryker, and you know this because you work with him. Like, I've only had a privilege of, I came on your show once last year, but had a privilege of chatting him over here at Better Sports Network, so you know him backwards and forwards. But to chat with somebody that was in that realm and then to see him transition and do something completely different, it tells you all you need to know, A, about his work ethic, B, about the talent that he does have, which is unquestioned. And when I was growing up, everybody, whether it be the Slim Jim commercials, whether it be Saturday Night Main Event, Miss Elizabeth, everyone did a Macho Man because it was
brother.
Yeah, so it was just because it was just and how you hold your, how you held your hands and stuff like that. And so I was just curious if he ever did it. And he does. He did that. Rowdy Piper was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Used to love his walk-in music with the bagpipes, and the Johnny Ace story is one. I mean, Frank, 18 months in as a wrestler for the WWE, you're prank calling, you're prank calling referees as their boss. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I will tell you, and I know Stryker's not actually on with us right now, but the other reason why he was able to cross over so seamlessly, dude's like a genius. He really hit like a steel trap inside that brain. The way he puts together some of the things that he does, he is insanely intelligent. Speaking of WWE, did you see the total switch here? But did you see the stuff that was circulating on social media about The Miz today?
No, I didn't.
So The Miz, I don't know what it's like, where it's going to be airing. It must be part of some documentary or something like that. But The Miz was telling his story about how he essentially got ostracized by the entire cast. He was not allowed in the locker rooms. And the way he tells the story, it's clear he was getting picked on. He's the dude that's coming over from the real world, blah, 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 right? He was, laughed at, whatever. And I guess he was walking through the locker room eating a piece of chicken. And a guy goes, "What are you doing eating chicken over my bag?" He's like, I'm sorry, man. He's like, "You got chicken on my bag." He's like, "No, I didn't get chicken on your bag, but if you think I did, I'm sorry." And everyone could look it up. And obviously The Miz does The Miz better than I do The Miz. But he essentially was told he was no longer allowed in the locker room. And for the first 7 months of him being called up to the I don't know if it's WWF at the time or WWE at the time when he first got called up, he was using broom closets and bathrooms and stuff like that to change when he was on the road. And he told he said how embarrassing it was, where he's literally wrestling and he's got 10 minutes before a match and he has to go pee and he has to go use the regular bathroom with everybody who just bought tickets. And he's like, I got kids saying, "Oh, it was Chris." Oh, you're right. It was Chris Benoit. Thank you. That's why the story is circulating. Yes. And it's he listened to kids be like, "Daddy, I think I just saw The Miz in our bathroom." Yeah. He said it was a really rough first 7 months.
I can imagine. That's terrible.
Yeah. Thank you, Baby J. Yeah. I guess that's why Chris Benoit was attached to the social media stuff. I didn't know if it was Chris Benoit's bag or if it was Chris Benoit who ended up being the reason why he was no longer allowed in the locker room.
That's so stupid.
Right?
jealous,
Imagine.
whatever it might be. Yeah, it's so stupid.
I'm just gonna make this guy.
It shows you is that the stuff that happens as kids for some people it still happens as adults.
Yeah,
It's so stupid.
yeah. There are bullies everywhere.
And the Miz is like as big of a star that the WWE has, and he's crossed over to doing so many other different things.
Yeah, he's arguably my favorite. I think
Oh,
he is my favorite wrestler right now.
Yeah, he's great. He's
I love
great.
Miz.
And what show does he do with his wife?
Whatever her name is, it's Ms. and whatever her name is.
Yeah,
like Ms. and Mrs.
Yeah,
Mariana, something.
Yeah, Donna's watch. It's an entertaining show. It's fun.
Yeah, Jody watches it. Yeah,
yeah, he's funny.
yeah. They had a baby. I think they are 2 babies now or whatever. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, think about that. I don't know. The wrestling game's so fascinating when you look at it because it's such a cutthroat business as well. I'm sure Matt's told you that too.
I'm still trying to talk Striker. So Striker has admitted that he every once in a while, like some of the old people will call him and just say like, "Oh, would you want to come back for an event here? You want to do this, whatever?" And he's not really in that game anymore. He's fully invested in this portion of his life.
Yeah,
but I keep telling him, I'm like, dude, why can't you and I go back and do a tag team match? Let's do a celebrity match.
Yeah,
I want to do one with him.
You would lose.
And then he's a little lukewarm on it.
Yeah, you would. You ever go to like one of those professional wrestling camps things?
Why do you immediately say you would lose? One,
hard.
It's whatever the storyline is, by the way.
If you get into a ring, it's very, very hard.
Oh, do you know me? If you told me Keith Irizarry, hey Keith,
I get it. It's just
you know how hard I would train.
I'm sure you would.
Weirdly hard.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not telling it. I think. Well, it depends first and foremost. It depends on what the storyline is, who they.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what the storyline would be.
Yes.
What if the storyline is simple as this?
A singlet, like.
I'm not wearing a singlet. No, I'm letting it all out.
Oh, dude.
There's no singlet.
Oh my god.
Actually, I think I would maybe go like basketball shorts.
Oh.
I think I would go basketball shorts.
Should go out like John Cena.
Yeah, I would go with a John Cena look. I would go topless, basketball shorts, and probably like basketball sneakers, maybe Jordans.
My kids just walk around the house sometimes because they play this clip. I think it was like might have been from Jim Ross or whatever, during one of the wrestling things where all of a sudden Cena's music comes on and he's like, "Oh my God, it's John Cena." And they just do that out of the blue.
Yeah. But like, what if the storyline was something like this? So Stryker and I are part of a celebrity event. Maybe I'm not even actually one of the superstars. I'm like the trainer, right? The manager. All right. Yeah. And his partner gets injured, right? And they slide me in.
Yeah, but it'd have to be like months upon months of buildup. Like this would have to be something that starts today and gets probably played out like 8 months from now.
Okay, I'm in.
You have to be training. You have to. I think Matt has moved on from wrestling.
I know, and I'm trying to talk him into it.
Like I think he's done.
What if we just did one event?
He's happy doing the better side. He's got a play. I don't think he's looking to get back into that game.
Well, listen,
we should do like a sideshow with Stryker where we could talk wrestling stories.
He would do it.
Yeah, we should do that. Like that would be amazing. Like I'd love to hear and we'd have to do a deep dive to where what kind of stories he'd like to tell, because I'm sure there's some that are in the vault that he doesn't want to tell.
Yes, yeah.
But that would be awesome. Like I love hearing those kind of stories. Like it's very entertaining.
Well, even he's told me some of the stories of like the first time he wrestled superstars, like other like super uber stars, like some of those moments. Yeah.
Let's continue the baseball conversation. Let's take a quick time out. We'll come back. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, the up and arm nature from people about what we saw over the course of the weekend with the new rules, the pitch clock, and what happened in the Boston game, which ended in a 6-6 tie. We'll do that next. It's Moose and Keith. Sharapan's going to join us in about 25 minutes. Well, good to have Dave back aboard here to kick off the work week. It's a Monday. It's Better Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
People are always very critical when it comes to fantasy baseball. I would say this, and I'm a big fantasy basketball guy. I love fantasy football. There's no fantasy sport that's even close to being as hard as baseball. The season, having to figure out, especially if you're playing weekly, which I don't like to play. Weekly with the 2 starts, having to look at the schedule and everything. Well, I mean, you play in basketball as well. There's no fantasy sport that's harder or more involved than baseball. It takes forever. You take a whole night to do your fab on Sundays.
Yeah, baseball is the most challenging, and I think that's why the popularity has gone down. People don't want to work. They don't want to put in the time. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. You have to know the player pool. That's why I love doing these 15-team, 50-round drafts. I mean, 750, 800 players. You lower all the minor leaguers. I took Spencer Strider last year in my first draft Champions League in round 40, and that turned out to be a phenomenal pick. So it puts you on to knowing everything about every team. And yeah, it's a lot of work. So I definitely think that it's a challenge, and I just feel like people don't want to put in time and work anymore. And I'm not saying fantasy football is easy. It's not. But you cannot tell me that fantasy football is more difficult than fantasy baseball. I play both sports. I don't have an allegiance to either one. I love both. I play both. But, fantasy baseball is a grind, man. You got to put in months of preparation. Spring training is important. It helped me get Carlos Rodon a couple years ago. I was not on him until the spring, seeing the velocity and the changes. So there's a lot of things you can discover in the spring. And this is the first real full spring training that we've had in years. Now, there is the WBC that is going to cut into it a little bit, and some guys will not be at camp. But the spring can help you discover. And again, you're talking about, even if you're in a 12-team league, I mean, you're probably going to have 23 to 30 roster spots. And then the 15-team leagues and the minor leagues, I mean, you got to know a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to win a fantasy baseball title. We've seen it, right? You can have an average player win a fantasy football league. We've all been in leagues where this guy's not that good. He's probably going to win a championship at some point. Things break right. He has a great draft, picks up a player off the waiver wire. That's not happening in fantasy baseball, man. You do not see bad players win fantasy baseball championships. You just don't. It's a 6-month season. You can't afford to take a week or two off from fab. You can't do it. Last year, say you took off the week where Taylor Ward was the big pickup. You lost a player that was a contributor most of the season. I know we had a couple of down periods, and Taylor Ward was a player I added in multiple leagues, but you can't take that time off. You can't afford to miss out. And, every little detail is important. So I know fantasy baseball is not as popular as it used to be, but I personally feel it's because people don't want to work hard. They just don't. Everyone wants the easy way out now. They want easy access. That's why people don't read anymore. They want a quick video. Fantasy baseball is a lot of work, trust me. But you know what? When you win a championship, it's really gratifying.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network. Moose and Keith on Better Sports Network.
It is on a Monday. Moose and Keith back with you. Take you right up until high noon. Keith, what was your take on the reaction over the weekend to the new rules, Major League Baseball?
I think that people are really, really silly in overreacting on something that we're a couple of days into. And I know that I'm going to come off like company, towing the company line. But in all sports, we've seen changes happen and everyone gets so up in arms and, oh my God, you're screwing with our sport. Listen, there are some kinks to it. There are some things that need to be worked out just a bit. And I get that. But the fact that people are so upset about, oh, you're taking away 27 minutes or whatever it is of baseball that I can watch. No, we're taking away 27 minutes of nothingness, of guys doing this with their wrists. And doing that stuff. Now, I'm okay with it. I do think the 8-second thing is we're going to have to get used to. The fact that there has to be 8 seconds left for a batter to be ready, I don't think they'll be as strict with that as the season goes on. And I don't think we'll see what happened at the end of that Red Sox game happen in a regular season baseball game or a playoff game.
Yeah, neither do I. I think change is very, very difficult. I think people get into a scenario where they're used to what they're used to. And this is not for you, me, anybody that's in our chat session that's a true blue hardened baseball fan that loves the Mets, loves the Yankees, loves the Padres, the Cardinals. It does not matter. The one that's been locked in for whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, or 50 years. That's not what it's about. It's about speeding up the game, bringing more action and rhythm to a game that and bring back the popularity of the sport to try and claw its way back to get to where it once was. Now, it's never going to catch the National Football League because the NFL is an absolute locomotive and it's running away from everything. But with all of that, leagues adjust. The NBA adjusted. The NBA didn't want to see 83, 79 games. They wanted to see more offense. So they limited what you could do defensively on the perimeter in terms of contact. They opened the game more up. They wanted to see more points. And you've seen the popularity of the NBA rise to where at one point in time it was the third most popular sport. Right now it's number 2, but it's clearly surpassed Major League Baseball. And now baseball's adjusting. And the players will adjust. And I heard the nonsense in the conversation over the weekend about, well, you can't have this happen in a World Series Game 7 where you're going to, call an automatic strike 3-2, bases loaded, 2 out, game tied, and all of a sudden you're going to give the other team that's out in the field a free out. I don't think it's going to get called there. The players are going to get adjusted, and there's going to be common sense that comes into play as well. What they want to have is, this is not about October. This is about regular season. This is about all of this is to bring more action. The base paths are widened or made bigger. When you look at first, second, and third, for players, they talk about player safety. It's also about bringing speed back into the game because the majority of the time they're bang, bang plays. So they want to bring back the days where you can work a walk, steal second, steal third, and get yourself into scoring position without having to generate a hit or hit the ball to the other side. They got rid of the shift because you've seen the precipitous drop in batting averages and players not willing to go the other way. So they eliminated the shift that way, Keith. So a scenario where they want to see more offense, more action on the base paths. Going back to the game that you and I watched when we were growing up, that's what Major League Baseball wants to get into. Less of a hammering down or placing importance on launch angle and hitting the ball over the fence. And we have seen, the use of bullpens and the way that starting rotations and the power arms that we've seen across Major League Baseball. Everyone throws 97, 98, 99, triple digits. So teams said, well, it's going to be hard to string together hits against those guys. So let's go for the old John Sterling, a bloop and a blast, or a walk and a blast to generate offense. But strikeouts have gone up. So they don't like the way that the sport is trending, and they want to change that. I know change stinks at times. No matter what aspect, you want to change your eating habits, your workout habits, whatever it might be. Change can be really, really difficult. We're so early in the process. The players are going to adjust to where you're going to get quicker, more rhythmic baseball games during the regular season. And in the end, I think it's going to be for the betterment of the sport.
Yeah, I think that people need to stop hanging on to the numbers of the 15-second timer, the 20-second timer with one runner on base, the 30-second timer between at bats, the 8-second timer for the hitter just to be ready to be able to, to play, right? Like that needs to be something that they don't hang on that right now. Understand that these changes are there for a reason, and I truly believe that baseball will adjust. Listen, the fact that we have a pitch clock and all this kind of stuff, that it's not going to change, but there can be loosening of. I mean, listen, even in the NFL, early. Remember when they were leading with the crown?
Yeah,
that was a thing, right? How many times have we seen that called recently?
Yeah, not many,
yeah.
but
they loosen up.
Yeah, they loosen up. Listen, I think. I don't see a problem in today's day and age where, they have PitchCon, where communication is a key, where you have pitchers meetings and hitters meetings to where what you want to try and do and accomplish as a starter or reliever in any given matchup on any given day, to then use that information to be able to, there's no need to take 25 seconds in between pitches.
No, it's not necessary.
There's just no need. You should be able to get the ball and throw the ball, have an idea based on game situation, who's on base, where you are in the count, exactly where you want to throw, where in the strike zone that you want to try and attack, or outside the strike zone where you want to track, whether it be a fastball, a strike, or an off-speed pitch. You should be able to have an understanding of that. I never enjoy watching slow pitchers work. I never enjoyed watching Steve Traxel work on the mound, the human rain delay. that's bad baseball. It just is. So I look at this as all being good for the sport. I really do. And trying to generate new fans. That's what Major League Baseball is trying to do. They don't want to have fans sitting there or people and bringing them into the game and having to sit there and wait for 3.5 hours where the game takes forever. There's not much action. It's a very low scoring affair. And then you're expecting that fan to every Tom, Dick, and Harry and Jane to then come back and watch the sport the next night. That's not going to happen. They're going to be like, I don't want to spend 3 hours or 3:20 watching a baseball game during the regular season. So they're going to try and get to the number to around 2.5. That's not a bad thing.
Well, even just think about the world that we live in right now. And you and I do a 2-hour show every day. How many people are really sitting and glued in, like legitimately glued in for the 2 hours? Like, I know that we have a great group in the chat.
Yeah, usually watch session is about 15 minutes. Listen
exactly.
Is about 15, 20 minutes.
And there are probably some other people that'll turn on the app and have us in the background for 2 hours, right? While they're, doing whether they're at an office, doing work, whatever it is. And then they quickly go, oh, I like this topic. Let me listen for a few minutes here. And then they go about their day, right? It's the world that, like, YouTube shorts and social media blasts and all this kind of stuff. Everyone wants to be punched in the face really quickly with stuff, and then they want to move on. And that's what baseball's trying to do. They're trying to get with the times, trying to make it so that, a 3.5 hour game is the rarity. Like, it's not the norm. We're not going to see the 3:15, 3:20, 3.5 hour games that often, right? Like, that's where we're sitting right now. And I think that when people get away from 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 8 seconds, like when they get away from those
the whole
numbers,
idea? I'm getting nervous watching the game. Why are you getting nervous?
What are you getting nervous about?
Like,
it's not that difficult. Look,
it's making me anxious that he's got to throw it. Well, why are you staring at the pitch clock? Just pay attention to the game. They're doing it.
This isn't that hard, and I'm not a Major League Baseball player. Watch.
Nice bat.
Thank you. Right. This is I use this one. This always gets a new name.
That?
What'd you say?
What model is that?
It's a Jim Cott.
Oh, okay.
Louisville Slugger.
Okay.
And this bat changes depending on which player is giving me the most success on Bettor's Eye. Okay. Last year, this was mostly a Mookie Betts bat.
Oh, nice.
Okay, we nailed Mookie Betts a lot. The year before, it was all Jose Altuve. But anyway, all right. So I'm not a Major League Baseball player, right? But look, pitcher is on the mound. 15, 14, 13. I'm ready. How difficult is that?
Yeah, well, it doesn't give you the time to adjust the battering glove.
I'm sorry, I didn't do. Hold on, let me put my bat down for a second. I'm doing this. I'm spitting a little bit, whatever it is, grabbing parts of my body. I have to twist the bat, whatever. No, it's not that difficult. All right, he just threw a strike. I'm going to step out for a second. Third base coach says something to me. Cool. I'm back in here. Boom, I'm ready. And all it is you need to be in the box and be set. It doesn't mean that, like, you still can be doing your this thing. You could do whatever. It just you have to give off the vibe to the umpire that you are ready to be a hitter.
Yeah, I don't see there's anything wrong with that. I don't. I mean, and it's great that baseball has done this, and you knew that there was going to be the people that are going to push back on it and say, well, this is not the game that I love. Well, I get it, but the game that you love is trying to bring more fans into the sport. And that's really what it's all about. And we'll adjust as watchers and viewers, and just as the players will adjust on the field to it. I like it. I like the fact that, you might have more stolen bases. Like, I like the fact that speed is being brought back into the game. Like, I like that. I like the action, that there's going to be a little bit more of a thinking man's game and less relying on the home run in order to generate offense. It also brings other teams back into the equation as well when we're looking across the landscape. I mean, how many times we had the conversation last year in the playoffs where when it was Yankees and Cleveland, Keith, and said, well, Cleveland just doesn't have enough power in their lineup to be able to generate offense. They're not going to be able to win. Eventually, the Yankees are going to win this series because they've got more power in the lineup, and they're not wrong. People were not wrong. Well, this is going to change it to where you don't have to have one bopper after another in that lineup in order to win. I think it's great. I think it's going to be fantastic for the game. It doesn't bother me. I like that it's going to go quickly. and it's gonna to move quickly. I think that's a betterment for the sport. Like when you watch Little League baseball, and you're, you have your son or daughter playing Little League. How many times are you sitting there and you're like, just like, let me get some action? The outfielder,
Right?
Yeah, this is going to bring action to the game. That's what you want.
I'm looking. All right. So Betting Pros has an article up for stolen base odds for the upcoming year. And they have, every book listed on here, BetMGM, DraftKings, PointsBet, FanDuel, all that kind of stuff. If you had to guess the shortest odds, this surprises me. Wow. The shortest odds for stolen bases. Do you want to guess or you want me to just tell you?
No, just tell me.
Ronald Acuna Jr. is the shortest odds at 6-1.
To lead the league in stolen bases?
Yeah. So he's there.
Who else? Who else is on that list? Give me the list.
The kid Ruiz from Oakland, the youngster, the outfield. Adalberto Mondesi, who's now in Boston, is 8-1. Mullins in Baltimore is 850. Bobby Witt Jr., I love that one at 9-1. I don't want to sound like a homer being that we're in New York, but if Starling Marte can stay healthy, 11-1 odds sounds fantastic there. Trey Turner's 14-1. Edmonds 14-1. Chisholm and Birdie are both 16-1 in Miami. And then I think you're getting a little bit too far down. I don't think you're getting anything out of the other guys.
Who I'm trying to think here. Okay, so last year, Birdie with Miami led the league with 41.
So he's 16-1, and he opened at 9-1, so he went down.
What about Mateo was 35, Mullins at 34.
And Mateo's actually shifted to 25-1 now.
Yeah, okay, let's look.
The kid Carroll from Arizona flies. I just don't know if he's going to be on base enough, but he's 28-1.
Yeah, I'll give you, a couple that I kind of like. I like Mullins.
Okay.
With Baltimore. I think he's going to steal a ton of bags.
Plus 850 is his best number.
Yeah, I like Mullins. And then the other one I'm trying to find, I like Trey Turner.
Trey Turner is 14-1, best odds.
Yeah, I like Trey Turner. Those would be the two I'd go with. I think Turner back on the East Coast. Wife wanted to be back on the East Coast in a great lineup that, down in Philadelphia. We know that he can absolutely fly. I think as long as Trey Turner stays healthy, I think Turner is going to absolutely be unbelievable in stealing bases this year. And I do like Mullins down in Baltimore. Those would be the two plays that I like.
Yeah, the Adalberto Mondesi thing is interesting because, his batting average is terrible. Career 244, the last 2 years, 230 and 140.
I wonder based analytically, how much he hit in, how much should the defensive positioning hurt?
Yeah, that would have to play into too. I think that I would go Bobby Witt Jr. at 9-1 would be someone I would look at. And I think I would go with Corbin Carroll at 28-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think those would be my two. Like I give you one deeper one at 28-1 is some really good value there on Corbin Carroll. I just want to double check. Hold on. Give me 1 second on Corbin because he's gonna, he's starting. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Like last year, he batted 260 in limited time, 32 games, right?
Yeah.
And in 32 games, his stolen base number, slide it over really fast, only had 2 stolen bases. That was it. So, maybe I'm off base, but he is really, really fast. Like station to station, he's one of the fastest players.
Yeah, and people are going to say, well, Turner played 160 games last year and only had 27 stolen bases. I think about Birdie. Birdie only played 102 games last year for Miami at 41 steals.
So my only issue with Trey Turner, and I like your play there, but I wouldn't say I love it, is as players get older, they stop stealing as often.
That's true. You're not wrong about that.
So for someone like Trey Turner,
he's only 29.
Right, but just signed the major deal, new team. He might run a little bit less, but when you talk about, dude can fly, and obviously,
I think the game's going to look different. I think the game this year, which I'm excited about,
I thought Stryker nailed it with maybe some of the overs in that first month that you don't
no
normally
doubt.
take.
I would look at. I mean, there are a couple of things I'd look at. I'd look at overs when you're looking at totals in games.
Yep.
Dependent, obviously, about the starting pitching and the offense, but I'd look at overs in games. I like when you look at whether it be bases or hits per game. I'd also look at stolen base numbers in games too. Those would be some things I'd look at too, because I think you can get a lot. I'd be surprised if you did not get a ton more action in these games, and putting pressure on relievers where they don't just have a guy on first or a guy on second. They have guys on first and second with one out, and then seeing how that reliever or that starter then reacts. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be fascinating to see. I think baseball needed it, Keith. Needed a little bit of a freshening. This is awesome.
Yeah. The other thing that has been a trend over the years has been, riding with underdogs early on in the seasons.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the books will overvalue teams that are favorites. I don't see that changing. I still think that is something that you guys can attack. Like the teams like, the Kansas City Royals and teams like that will sneak out early wins that aren't supposed to happen, because some of those star teams just overlook these teams early on and think, their poop doesn't stink, so that they can just go out there and do what they want to do and win games. And they don't necessarily do that. Total bases will be something. And we're going to do a lot of baseball over the next couple of weeks as we're gearing up for it, March 28th and into the beginning of the season. There will be a lot of total base props for me. I mean, it's my baby. And the fact that I'm fascinated to see if the books adjust. Stryker mentioned the name Corey Seager. Like the lefties of the world that were getting robbed of potential singles and sometimes doubles because of shifts that can't happen. Which, oh, by the way, do you know if there's a rule against this? Because I don't believe there is. So you know how you can't do the shift. Like, so the shortstop can't come over and be on the second base side.
Can you
third
bring
base
the right fielder down?
Right? Like, what if you shifted the right fielder down, center fielder shifts over, left fielder shifts over?
Right, but I think it's on the perimeter of the grass, right? So you could bring the right fielder in.
As long as they're not in the infield.
As long as they're not in the infield.
Okay.
Like I believe
that could be a little bit of a way to sneak.
No, there it could be, but then you're playing the outfield with two outfielders.
Right, but if you're assuming that they're not going opposite field anyway, who cares?
No, true, right.
Except that if they do go opposite field, now they're hitting a triple. Maybe an in-the-park home run.
Yeah, because if they have any semblance of speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they have any semblance of speed. But no, you have to have the demarcation is the infielders, and then I don't think you can bring anybody over or down where they're touching the ring of the outfield grass on the infield, where that connect. You know what I'm getting at.
Can anybody out there feel the giddiness of you and I talking about baseball?
Yeah.
Like, I get it that baseball is not the number one or number two sport right now. I totally understand that. But you and I, like, and Stryker had the same feel to it. Like, I love baseball.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't wait. Like, it's nice to have baseball back. It is. It's for me it's a couple things. Number one is I love the sport, and I love the fact that the expectations on the Mets and the Yankees locally, and I love what the news coming out of San Diego yesterday that Manny Machado broken by Jeff Passan, that he signs that 11-year, $350 million. But I also love the fact that what baseball and March Madness signify, which is that warm weather's coming. Like, I love the fact that spring. I'm with you. Like, and it hasn't even been a bad winter. I love summertime. Like, I love the fact of being able to wear shorts and a t-shirt and flip flops, and you walk outside and you hear the birds chirping, and you can smell the flowers or freshly cut grass. Like, there's so many things about summertime that I absolutely love and adore, that my kids don't complain about going outside because it's too cold. Yeah, like all those things. Like, it's great. Yeah. We just set up our pool opening. We're opening up the first week of May. Good for you. Look at that. Might be a little ambitious. It was funny. We spoke to the company. Hey, people usually wait till Memorial Day weekend. Yeah. So we called we called the company about the open up, and we were like, we were thinking we want to like try to have it open before Memorial Day. But like, what do you think about doing it even earlier than that? And the woman was like, well, people who
you usually have not had the pool long, always do what you want to do. They always say, can we open it up early in May? And then after like a season or two of it, realize it's not necessary. She goes, but I'm not going to tell you not to do that, because if you want to open it up, like if you
Open it up.
yeah, because if you get 70-degree weather and your kids want to be swimming because it's heated, then let them swim. She goes, yeah, we're going to be jammed like the week leading up to Memorial Day. It's a crazy time. Everyone wants to open up their pool there. So we're going to do it the first week of May, and we'll play it out. We'll see how it goes.
Good for you. That's cool.
Yeah. It might still be freezing.
I'll bring the boys by. I'll bring the boys by for my birthday, May 17th. We'll come.
Done. We'll throw you a party. All right. We're throwing a Moosapalooza pool party.
Will there be a little can I bring a pony?
You as long as you clean up after it. Remember, you're the guy in the back that gets to clean everything up and deals with the smells. Call back.
Oh, that's funny. That's good. Keith, I would open if I had a pool. I would open the pool as early as I possibly could.
I mean, it's heated, right? Like, yes, money, sure, but like for the memories of it, if we know there's a day that's going to be 75 degrees and I just hike up the pool to a high temperature, let the boys have some fun. And listen, let the boys have some fun. I'm jumping into. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. You know, we're jumping into Dave Sharapan's going to join us next.
Yeah. Can we talk hockey with him too next?
Yes.
Big hockey guy. There's some big moves
Timo
happening
Myers,
or maybe going to happen.
Timo Meyer, Devil. It's happening. I mean, Patrick Kane, Showtime is going to Madison Square Garden.
Just a matter of whether it's today, tomorrow, Wednesday.
Yeah, in all likelihood. I mean, from everything I read last night, it's going to be Wednesday.
That's what finances and stuff like that. Like we have to have it done by Friday, but yeah.
Right. It's going to get Friday's the NHL trade deadline. We'll get into that with Sharapan. We'll do that next. He's Keith Arizari. I'm Mark Malusis. The show is Moose and Keith on a Monday right here, Better Sports Network.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Better Sports Network.
Baby J just wrote in the chat as we went to break that Nick Sirianni is the most punchable face in the NFL.
I think
I don't see it.
Well, yeah, I think people are bothered, and you saw the Giants bothered by the fact of how he was acting and his antics, and I'm growing a little tired of Kayvon Thibodeau on social media. Everybody
he's bothering me a little bit.
Well, everybody that criticizes Kayvon Thibodeau, he basically tells you, I don't know who you are, whether it be Jeff Saturday or whether it be Joe Staley.
Yeah.
Julian Love last week going on Good Morning Football on the NFL Network and saying Sirianni's in for a free ride. Just look how talented that team is. Well, I mean, I think it's a little unfair if you're a Giant or you're a member or you are a fan of the Giants. You went in there on that Saturday night and you got embarrassed.
Doesn't it feel like sour grapes, right? Like it just feels like you guys beat me up, so now I'm just going to try to find a way to beat you down.
So, and if you're Kayvon Thibodeau, enough, shut up. I mean, you're on social media. Enough with the fact that anybody that rips you or criticizes you or going out there and saying or ripping the 49ers who didn't have a quarterback in the NFC Championship game and saying, well, we could have done a better job than what San Francisco is doing. Well, they didn't have a quarterback. And then Joe Staley calls them out. And then I got to have Michael Strahan tag teaming and jumping in and ripping Joe Staley. The fact that Michael Strahan got 2.5 sacks on him during his rookie year where Joe Staley was critical of what Kayvon Thibodeau did this year. I mean, are we serious here?
Yeah, that's what we're doing here.
I mean, this is really what it's coming down to. I mean, why not hold the young man accountable and say, no, listen, zip it. Enough. Like you don't need to comment on everything, nor do I care. Yeah. You're not Micah Parsons. You're not Lawrence Taylor. You're none of those
But
things.
He thinks he is.
Well, but that's the problem. He's not.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. And I would say he has a long way to go to ever
And maybe he becomes one of the best. He could.
I mean, it's possible. Do I think he's ever going to be Micah Parsons? I don't.
I don't. He's talented.
He's talented. I'm not telling you he's not going to have a successful NFL career. But everybody that criticizes him, he says, I don't know who you are. Well, why don't you look up and have for the men that played in this league before you and what they accomplished in this league? That the league didn't start the day that you stepped foot in the National Football League. And sometimes there's reasons why people are going to go out there. And if you're going to make comments as stupid as he did in the NFC Championship game, you understand that you're going to get called out for it. And if you get called out for being dopey, don't all of a sudden respond with, I don't know who you are.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Better Sports Network. Moose and Keith on Better Sports Network.
It is on a Monday. Oh, look at him representing. Mr. Denver, Dave Sharapan joins us now. Look at you decked out. I mean, that's
What's
amazing.
up?
What's going on?
We don't just
Good morning.
come prepared to talk. We got to come prepared, ready to talk about things that maybe not a lot of people are talking about. And Moose, I had to get dressed up for you. Keith's been gone doing other things, running around.
Eating
I don't know where you've been. He didn't even tell me he was going. I found this out. I don't know. He sends me pictures of dinner, but he don't send me pictures or tell me anything. Give me a heads up that he might be out of town and not on the show. I don't know.
I mean, we talked about it. I'll just say this. Thanks for tuning into the program when you're not on it, because we spoke about my trip a bunch.
We
did you?
Yes,
yeah.
we did.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, but thanks for watching.
You got me. I'm sorry. I have other things to do, but I'm trying my best to catch the clips and all that other stuff. If you send them to me, I watch them.
Can I give you a different gotcha? All right, because that was funny, but whatever. So, Moose, I don't know if you saw this on social media yesterday, and Dave, I don't know if you did either. So yesterday, I tweeted out about Devils getting Timo Meyer, like massive get for the Devils, blah, blah. I wrote something.
Yeah, sure.
A person that works on this network who hosts a weekend show, who was a guest on our show, I don't know, once, twice, three times, whatever it was, right? Writes, oh, you're a big hockey guy? With a question mark, right? And I actually was sitting with my 12-year-old Austin at the time, and I go, how do I respond back and not sound like a jerk? So I decided just to write back, yes, comma, I work for NHL Network. That was it, right? The guy then writes back, oh, I don't know why. I just always thought of you as a baseball guy. Yeah. And then I look at Austin and I'm like, my son, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing it. And I wrote, yes, I'm a host for MLB and NHL Network. And he proceeds to write back, I guess I'm never going to be a guest again on Moose and Keith.
Yeah. Well,
I go, no, that's your one mulligan. Don't worry.
Who is this person?
We don't want to call him out, Moose, don't you?
No, I like that.
I mean, you go on my social media.
Oh, let me go.
He may or may not work on the Campus to Canton show, and his name may be the same as my 12-year-old son.
There you go. I still don't know who it is, but that's okay. I'm not going to go look, and I'm not going to call anybody out.
It was hilarious.
Listen, you know what's hilarious? When you hold up the modeling pictures. That's what's hilarious.
What are you talking about?
That's funny, right there. That's what we need more of that. Making snide jokes about being a hockey guy and all that other stuff. That's not funny.
No. That's
right?
true. Yeah, the modeling pictures are amazing.
Wait, so I shouldn't have done that on Twitter.
No, you should have. Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. Should have clapped back, no doubt.
No, I wasn't even being angry, or honestly,
you're like, this is disrespectful.
A little disrespectful.
It is a little disrespectful.
A little bit.
It's a little disrespectful.
Little.
No, if you're gonna address me, know who you're addressing. It's a little disrespectful.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm with Moose, and from now on, going forward, Sharapan. Going forward,
it'd be like having Sharapan aboard and be like, Dave, do you know anything a little bit about making odds?
Yes.
Happens to me every day.
No, it doesn't.
No,
when you hop on these shows. Not when you get in your sports book consigliere. It's not when you hop on these shows. It's like, Dave, by the way, any experience in making odds?
I would also like to do this.
I thought you were just a talk show host.
Can I also say this? In my bio on social media, it says, and I don't need to read the whole thing, but the word host is on there.
Yeah.
MLB Network, CBS Sports, NHL Network, Better Sports Network. Like all of those are on there listed as host.
Yeah.
Nobody looks at that
Listen,
stuff.
and
What don't you understand?
And anytime, listen, he's more than welcome to come on the show because when he disrespects Keith, he's he's in the foxhole with me.
Yeah, going forward, if I ever get disrespected, I'm just gonna shoot a text over to Moose and be like, "Yo, I'm gonna be like, Moose, take care of this."
What do you mean, take care of it? Book him again. That guy might be on 2 times a week. When he comes on and gives you
I'm
the
joking.
show. That's what I'm saying.
And
That's
such a nice guy too. I was, and listen, it was
nice
all
guy.
in good fun. All in good fun.
Dave, you're decked out in the Denver Nuggets.
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this because I was doing a show locally on WFAN in New York yesterday, and somebody called me up. Sixers Celtics game Saturday night was entertaining, and B dropped in 41. Great game, great game on ABC, and they did right by the association. Very entertaining. And my whole take is that the MVP race, unless Jokic gets hurt, the MVP race in the NBA is over. Like, Jokic is winning the MVP. He's like, went back with me with Joel Embiid, and if you stick Embiid on Denver, Denver would have just as good of a record. You don't know the caliber of player Embiid is. And I'm not trying to disrespect Joel Embiid, but all the conversation we had for so long about Jokic, about voter fatigue, he has ended that based on he's shooting nearly 64% from the floor. Like
he's only been under 50% once this entire season.
The year he's having
October.
is historic. Like the race for the MVP is over, correct?
I mean, he could get hurt.
Let's see. In a word, yes. It's pretty simple. I listen. I've had Embiid the last year. I mean, it was 50-1, 40-1, and it kept coming down. And I was making a case that JoJo should win it. And I'm watching it going, he ain't going to win it. He ain't going to win it. And there's 20 games left or 21 games left for certain teams. And it's over. I watched it again last night. I watched Denver play the Clippers. And you want to talk about another weekend of basketball just in general. Saturday was crazy with the college hoops all day. Off and on buzzer beaters, and then it led to the Sixers game, which was fun. And then yesterday, NBA, Bucks Suns was pretty good. And then, Clippers,
Lakers, Mavs,
Nuggets. Lakers, Mavs, the biggest comeback in the day, 27 points down. First time a team was down like that and won a game. Just fun stuff. The NBA's fun, but this race is over, Moose. This is one of those ones where I'm looking. And it's okay to lay a price on a situation that you think the price should. If you lay 300 and the price should be 8, that's okay. People do that. Bad guys do that all the time. They'll tell you, I'm coming in and taking it. Now, you cannot control injuries. Voting things are different. Those voting markets are very different. So you have to both as a bettor and as a sports book. But I don't know. I was out and I saw this one. This was the person at the store was like, hey, we have one of these left. Why don't you try it on? And it's a Jokic rookie jersey, the Denver rookie. I mean, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So
wait,
I'm all in.
I thought that was the Melo jersey.
No. This is Jokic.
Oh.
Denver 15. Jokic on the back.
Melo was 15 in Denver too, though, wasn't he?
Was he? I don't know. I don't remember his number.
Someone fact check me on that.
You're sending me pictures with you and the kids with Melo.
Yeah.
All I wanted you to do was ask Melo where he got those hats. Man,
I'll probably see him a lot soon.
Oh,
I mean, his kid just transferred into Lehigh, and my kids both practice at Lehigh with the Lehigh coaches.
Look at that.
So we'll probably see Carmelo a bunch. If I can become friendly with him, we'll get him on the show. Well, but that's got to be like a slow
build. That's a slow burn. Yeah. Well, please, can't be getting the kid's dad on the show right now. You're just a kid's dad. That's all you are,
and I'm okay with that.
And that's all Melo wants to be.
You step out.
I know.
You have to make sure you're in that comfort zone.
I don't want to be anything more than that.
If you overstep your bounds, then you're going to be.
Are you wearing an Ohio State shirt?
Yes.
Right
yeah,
now?
Jody got it for me.
What?
She's a Penn State grad.
That's
But
unbelievable.
her mother went to Ohio State.
So what? It's done. That's it. Why are
So?
you wearing an Ohio State? You could have worn that any other day.
It looks nice on
You're
me.
going to come on a Monday or Friday. You know the days I'm on. Moose, what are you doing? OHIO? Are you doing it? I like Ohio State.
H.
What is happening right now?
It's a nice. You're going to tell me that the gray and red doesn't look nice on me?
Oh my God, it's always you. It's always
always
back to.
does.
I'm just saying it looks nice on me.
You look
How's
nice.
your arms? You tight? Do a little
Yeah,
one of
Yeah,
those.
all is good. All is good.
Yeah,
All's good. Yeah.
It never ends. Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
Just stretch it.
it doesn't.
man, it never stops.
No.
All right, hockey guy. I got one for you.
Yes.
Are the Penguins making the playoffs now? I mean,
No,
I don't think they are. It's not looking that great for them.
Are they sellers? Are they like this is a big week for
I don't think
NHL
they can sell
trade
that to their
deadline.
fan base on being a seller. I don't think they're going to be a seller.
No?
I don't.
Dave. I just as a true Blue Ranger fan, I love it.
I realized when I realized he was wearing the Ohio State thing, I realized the way that today was going to go, and I'm okay with it. I like the jousting with the New York guys. It's always fun for me.
Yeah.
All right,
True
Dave.
Blue
Dave, how about
Rangers.
this? Dave, we
What?
are.
All right,
Oh,
Penn State. But
there you
you
go.
can't do it in an Ohio State.
No, you
t-shirt.
can't do it.
Doesn't- I mean, that's like,
that-
you know,
Yeah, it
that was
doesn't make-
patronizing.
Yeah,
more than
that's
anything.
no doubt. Let's talk a little hockey because
Please.
your trade deadline's Friday.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the trade that officially did go down last night. Took hours upon hours upon hours to finally being completed. But what does the addition of Timo Meier do for the New Jersey Devils, who now trail Carolina? I think last I checked, trail Carolina by 3 points in the Metropolitan.
Well, I was going back and forth yesterday with a couple different guys who still do the numbers in books here in town. They're my hockey guys that it's a limited window of people, limited that actually really love it and do the numbers because it's just such a lesser handled sport. They both said it doesn't make the Devils better than those teams, meaning Boston and Carolina. They got Boston and Carolina. Boston is high. Carolina's the next one down, and then it's everybody else. I think it puts the Devils in the argument to be the 3 team in that list ahead of the Rangers. And I don't know. I mean, what if the Devils can overtake Carolina? That would be big for them for seeding, and then they only have to beat one of them on the way to play, most likely Boston. It's a big move. Is there going to be a bigger move? I mean, you're as a true Blue Ranger guy, what are they doing with this Kane thing? Is this going to happen?
Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Wednesday.
Moose and I were talking
that
about. There's like
based on-
finances that have to be agreed
based on
upon. Yeah.
accruing enough salary cap, a cap space, it's going to go down Wednesday. So the Rangers, I think, take on the Flyers in Philly Wednesday night. I think they take on Ottawa Thursday night at home at the Garden. I would imagine, unless, because we know he was sent home by Chicago, unless, he's already in New York, I would imagine he makes his debut Thursday night for the Rangers.
Which is absolutely amazing. I'm going to give you a little self-serving. I'm hosting NHL Tonight on Wednesday and Thursday, the 6 p.m. shows, both of those nights. So there's a good chance that we'll break into
6 p.m. Eastern?
Eastern, yes. So there's a good chance that we'll break in to the Rangers. We'll do our ice pass like we normally do.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And we'll be
That's
showing you
great.
a lot of that Rangers game with him.
The issue the issue the Rangers have now is when you look at movies, we've had to talk about the Eastern Conferences. I mean, Boston's like a locomotive. You still have Carolina, which we've talked about. The Devils are a team that I would say is if they meet the Rangers in the opening round, I think there will be a lot of people that'll take the New Jersey Devils in the round, just in that round, because of the pure speed that they have, how good Jack Hughes is, Nico Hischier. You had now Timo Meier. Rangers play differently against the Devils in the regular season because they do have a fear of that speed factor. But anytime that Kane is available, you got to get Lindgren back healthy. They had the scare yesterday with Zibanejad taking the shot off of his ankle. He returned in the third period. They've been playing short here, trying to work out this Kane deal for the better part of a week. I think there are a lot of Ranger fans that look at it and say Shesterkin's not as good as he was a year ago, and there's a little bit of a physicality that it's not there for this team where they can get pushed around.
This is so. I don't know. I would argue. I would push back a little bit on the Shesterkin thing because he's seeing so many more shots, Moose. Like they're not defending as a team the way they defended last year.
They're not.
At least
That's
those things, right? So they give up more shots. He's going to give up a few more goals. He has to stop 40 shots a night. I mean, it's high. They're giving up a lot of shots on goal. And the other thing is about the physicality. I agree with. That's why the Kane trade. I mean, obviously it's Patrick Kane, but I don't know how much that helps other than what he
their
adds
issues, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't fix their flaws. It just helps the things that they're already good at.
Right. Yes.
That's fair.
So that's the way I think I'm looking at it. Tonight you got Boston at Edmonton. And this might be a
You're gonna go over?
Cup review. Might this be a one of those games that I think we learned something from. The number's only minus 140, minus 135 in a lot of places. You're catching Boston on the Western Canada road swing. The total 6.5. Boston's been pretty much an under. Edmonton has been their game in Columbus was 7.5. You don't see 7.5s anymore. That was reserved for the late 80s, early 90s hockey that we remember. That 7.5, and it flew over. I mean, they were down 4-0, and Edmonton came all the way back and made it 5-4 or 4-4. So that's a really good hockey game tonight. Vegas and Colorado is another one where I'm looking at the price, and this might be a Western Conference final game. It's only minus 135, minus 140. So that feels like a dead under to me. That game, Vegas on the road has been really good. They're a live dog, obviously, but that game under. So we got two hockey games. We're learning a lot. But then another game is most of the Red Wings going to make the playoffs.
Unbelievable. I mean, they've been playing great.
They're right there.
They've been
right there.
Like this is, but let me ask you, though, Dave. Like even though we're having conversations about Pittsburgh, whether they make it, Detroit, whether they make it, teams on the perimeter. How many teams right now do you think conceivably? I know the trade deadline's Friday, and there can be some adjusting and some more moves. But how many teams right now do you think can win a Stanley Cup?
That is an awesome question that I was just going back and forth with my two guys yesterday. I said, give me the teams in the East and give me the teams in the West. We used to do this week before the trade deadline. So then we could say, I told you so on Thursday.
Love it.
And have that argument all weekend while the college basketball was winding down. It's Boston, Carolina, and Tampa Bay. They kind of shipped it and went all in with this. It's still Tampa. And in the West, he said it was pretty simple. My two guys agreed. Colorado. It was Dallas and it was Colorado. Yeah. And nobody else. So throw Vegas out and all the other pretenders, I think, in the West.
So, all right. So Dallas, I think, has some flaws. I'd like to see if they do anything at this trade deadline. I thought they were going to be in on Patrick Kane. Obviously, they're going to fall short of that. I told you guys this. I love Colorado. The fact that they're still the betting favorite in the West shows you that through all the injuries, and they've had the third most missed games, games is what it's called. I like Colorado. I would throw in the Rangers because I do think that knowing what Shesterkin was last year and what he can be in a playoff, I wouldn't be shocked if he were standing on his head and then you had enough offense from the rest of the players to make a little bit of a run. But I do think it's really, I know you mentioned the Lightning, but I Bruins and Canes just seem so much better than everybody else. But the Lightning have a little bit of pedigree. I want to read you guys a tweet, though, before we start. So Mike Kelly, NHL Network, he's been on the show before. Mm-hmm. The Maple Leafs, Lightning, Hurricanes, Devils, and Rangers, okay?
Yep.
They all have points percentages of 640 or higher, and two of those teams will not win a playoff round because of the way it gets set up. That's crazy. That shows you how good the East is.
It shows you how good the East is, but it also shows you how – isn't it time at some point that they have to go to 3 points for a regulation win, 2 for an overtime or shootout win, and 1. There has to be more separation. The teams that win those games, everybody's talking about the pitch clock and all these other things that we saw in spring training, changing the game. I think we got to talk about in hockey changing the point values because it's so lumped together that really good teams aren't rewarded in the playoffs. There's no other sport where the 8th seed can win a championship as much as the NHL.
No, that is true. And I think it's interesting. He said Tampa because I agree, and not Toronto and not the Rangers. What do you think the big issue when you look at the Leafs, who added Ryan O'Reilly? When you look at Toronto? I know they never beat Tampa in the postseason, but what about Toronto?
That's it. He used to sit. He's a little bit older than me, so he's in his mid to late 50s, and he used to sit there and say this about San Jose every spring until proven otherwise. I'm gonna take that. I heard it every night. When they would drive, they'd be a 1 or 2 seed, have the most points and win home ice, and he would just go until proven otherwise. He still texts me.
Do you feel bad for the Leaf fan though? Like it's it's an unbelievable hockey city. It really
is amazing.
It's amazing. Like you go, it is hockey heaven when you go to Toronto.
It is, but again, I've never been. I've been to Toronto, but never to a Leafs game. The fan base acts like they've won before. Like there aren't too many people alive that remember the Leafs winning a Stanley Cup. Yet there's a lot of people that every year they talk about this. I used to take bets at the counter on the Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup every year. And I gave them the line, this is just for this year and not your lifetime. They giggled. But it was a little bit of a shot. It was like, so I don't feel bad, Moose. I hope they win a series. I just hope it's not against a team that I have a future on. I don't want to see them knock out Carolina.
What matchups do you have set up? I'm sorry, Keith. What matchups do you have set up for the Cup final?
The snow and stuff this weekend interrupted my plans as far as what I was doing for futures. But after that conversation, I'm going to get some Carolina and some Boston Bruins scenarios in the East. I'm going to entertain some Edmonton because the prices are right, and some Dallas, and obviously some Colorado in the West.
Nice. So are you going to be annoyed when you come on the show and you don't answer a question quick enough? And then we just, disconnect you? Off. Yeah, a little pitch clock action. Moose and I opened the show talking. We do not have a problem with the pitch clock. We actually kind of like it. I think people just need to get adjusted. We have 30 seconds, by the way.
I've seen it here in Las Vegas for a year. We went last year. The kids like it. Yeah. I like it. It moves the game along. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. Look. The pitcher has the ball. Watch. I'm ready to go. It wasn't that difficult. I'm ready to go.
Oh, with the Ohio State stuff. What are you doing?
Oh, a little Bo Jackson.
You're going to leave me with that?
Bo Jackson for you?